again. This is Dr. Keith Henry with another quick Wellness News Nugget. I'd like to thank you for listening in. Today, the quick Wellness News Nugget is from naturalnews.com. It's an excellent news nugget. It's entitled, "It's Not Just What You Eat That Matters. When You Eat also plays a role when it comes to liver function." Now, this is something that a position that I've held as a naturopath for a long time. And if this is your first time listening, my name is Dr. Keith Henry. I'm a naturopathic practitioner, and the Quick Wellness News Nugget is where I take articles that have come out during the week, sometimes during that very day, and I give my perspective on that article, that wellness article, as a natural practitioner. Now, this article is very important. This is something that I've held, a belief I've had for a long time, or I've recommended people do this. It's very important to try to eat at the same time every day. And it's very important to not eat at night if you can help it. So let's look at this study. This study goes a lot to telling why this is the case. Now, this study is some of the information in this article can get a little technical. So I try and keep it from being too technical. And again, if you want to go and read it yourself, it's at naturalnews.com. And it's talking about how important it is to eat consistently at the same time, or as consistent as possible, that is, at the same time each day. It says the importance of right timing when it comes to food intake was once again made evident in a recent study published in the journal Cell in reports. The article says in it, researchers from Texas A&M University discovered that the time you eat has profound effects on the metabolic function and rhythm of biological processes. Eating at the wrong time of the day, for instance, could disrupt the rhythmic expression of genes within cells and lead to the development of certain diseases. So again, you hear me talk about, I mentioned on here before, if you've listened before, about the ability to alter the expression of the genes by our lifestyle, by what we eat. And also, this article establishes, this study establishes that when we eat can also alter the expression of those genes in each cell. The article goes on to say further, according to the researchers, mammalian cells follow a certain rhythm when it comes to gene expression. This allows them to control the activation of cell or tissue-specific processes and ensure that they occur at the most appropriate time of the day. The article goes on to say further that the rhythmic expression of genes is said to be governed by molecular circadian clocks scattered throughout the body, and all of these clocks are synchronized by a pacemaker in the region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN. Now, understand the same way, I know many of you have heard of the circadian rhythm, about how the body, as the sun sets, the body is basically, for lack of a better term, programmed to start dialing down, and so the body can go into rest mode, for lack of a better term. The body is on a circadian rhythm. Same thing this article is talking about with respect to the body in terms of how we eat. And it goes on to say further that all of these clocks are synchronized. These clocks that are scattered throughout the body, these molecular circadian clocks. So on a molecular level, it's talking about on basically a cellular and molecular level that these clocks are scattered throughout the body, and they need to synchronize. To work or synchronize rather. It says if one of the molecular clocks become out of sync, the SCN employs various cues to put it back in sync. These cues can come in the form of neuronal signaling rhythms, hormone production rhythms, body temperature rhythms, and food intake rhythms. According to previous models, peripheral circadian clocks, which are present in nearly every tissue and organ, regulate rhythmic gene expression. And in other words, that is, it works independently inside each cell. Autonomously is what it's called. So it says, however, the researchers found that rhythmic food intake heavily influences rhythmic gene expression independently of the peripheral clock in the liver. So in other words, if you eat rhythmically, in other words, you eat at the same time daily as close as possible, then they found that this rhythmic food intake can heavily influence the rhythmic gene expression independently of the peripheral clock, which is in the liver. So let's look at this a little closer. The article goes on to say further, in an attempt to discover the exact role of food intake timing in circadian biology and the rhythmic expression of genes, researchers designed an experiment using mice. They varied the feeding times of two different groups to follow either an arrhythmic pattern, food intake restricted to nighttime only, or an unrestricted pattern. The experiment, the article says, lasted for 5 weeks, after which the researchers collected the animals' livers at various points during the day to study the expression of the genes in the liver. The researchers found that arrhythmic feeding, that's at night, disrupted the rhythmicity of the expression of 70% of cycling mouse liver genes. So by them just eating at night, it affected the rhythmic expression of 70% of cycling mouse liver genes. It says this disruption only affected genes that don't belong to the core clock present in mouse liver. The core clock genes, meanwhile, retain their rhythmic expression despite their arrhythmic feeding pattern. The article goes on to say further, in addition, the researchers also found that the timing of food intake alters the timing of key signaling and metabolic pathways without affecting the oscillation of the core clock in the liver. Some of the pathways affected by feeding times are involved in the production of cholesterol and glycogen, the main storage form of glucose. It says, based on these findings, the researchers concluded that systemic signals driven by rhythmic food intake significantly contribute to driving rhythms in liver gene expression and metabolic functions independently of the cell autonomous hepatic clock. Now, what does that mean? Essentially, let me read another quote from another part of the article. It says, Jerome Minett, one of the authors of the study, further explains that the importance of feeding time extends beyond just synchronizing the molecular clock in different organs. It regulates rhythmic gene expression in parallel of the clock. This raises the interesting hypothesis, he says, that eating at the wrong time of the day, which is prevalent in shift workers, for example, can desynchronize rhythmic gene expression and lead to pathologies, he added. Essentially, what it means is that not following the body's rhythmic clock, eating at the same time every day, and also not eating late at night and eating at all kind of different times, essentially, it throws off the circadian rhythm of the body overall, of the cell, even at the cellular level, and thus it can alter the expression of the genes, and as a result, you can end up with some type of disease. I know that article was a little technical in some areas. I tried not to get too technical in this, but the long and short of it is, don't eat late. Try to eat the same time every day. Don't frequently eat at night. Try not to eat at night at all if possible. And again, try and keep the body on a rhythm. The body likes regularity. If you can do that, your health will be a lot better off. This is Dr. Keith Henry. Until next time, take care and God bless.